Hey everybody, welcome to today's live stream. We are so glad you've joined us. I hope you've already eaten lunch. If not, maybe you're watching right now while you eat a slightly later lunch. My name is Anne-Marie. I am host of the Studio Classroom daily program, and I have a very, very special guest with us today. I'm very excited about her being here because we very rarely have a chance to work together. This is Maria. She is on the editorial staff of Let's Talk in English magazine.
Yes, I am very glad to be here as well. And like you said, we have not collaborated in live streams, maybe like one or two skits a few years back.
Ago, yeah.
Yes, but it's so good to be working with you again and discussing about a very interesting topic that we'll get into very soon.
Yeah, that's right. Maria was saying before we started that I think the last time we worked closely together was when I was pregnant with Renee, I guess, which she's about to turn 1 year old. So it's been a while.
Yes. It has. So finally, we're back together again, and I'm glad to be able to be a part of this live stream.
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for saying good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here as well. Well, we are taking a look at an article in your April magazine. So if you have that with you, go ahead and take it out right now. This is actually tomorrow's article. This is going to happen on April 12th. We're talking all about active listening. We're going to get into that in just a minute, but first I want you to take a minute to answer our poll down below. Some people have already answered. Actually.
Wow, they're so fast.
Yeah, and it looks like most of you think that you are a good listener.
Good for you. How would you answer this question? Would you say you're a good listener?
I can be a good listener, but I do get distracted pretty easily. But what about you?
I like to think of myself as a good listener. Maybe because that's just because I'm more quiet. I don't talk as much, at least compared to my other family members. They love to talk, crack jokes. They're all funnier than I am. So I've just always learned to just enjoy listening to them speak. And so yeah, I would say yes as well, as does the other 70% of people on the live stream say.
Do you feel like that's been the same your whole life? Like you've always been a good listener, or is this a skill that you've developed over time?
I want to say my whole life.
Okay.
Well, because that reminds me of a story. One time, some guests came to our house, and so the guest was sitting on the sofa, and I was sitting at his feet. My sister was on his lap, and she just kept chatting and chatting and chatting. She was just going on and on. She was having the time of her life, and I was just sitting down on the floor, and I was just like quietly listening. And then the guest turns to my dad and goes, "Can I take Maria home? I love how quiet she is."
You're such a well-behaved child.
Yeah, I've just been on the quieter end. But there's obviously the pros of loving to talk.
That's true. And
then there's a pros of loving to listen.
And I think both of these things are important in life.
Yes.
There's a time and a place for these things. If there's a time and a place for something, it means that during a certain time, one thing might be appropriate, but during another time, something else might be appropriate. So as we get into our lesson, let's answer another question here. Why is being a good listener important?
Oh, I would say it's because listening is vital to good communication. Communication is two-way. You know, one person speaks while the other person listens, and then they can reverse roles. And if someone's speaking and the other person is not listening, then there's no communication happening. They might just be talking aloud to themselves.
That's true, because if the other person doesn't know how to properly respond, it's really hard for the communication to go forward. And thank you very much for saying that you are going to be a good listener during this live stream. That's awesome. That also means you need to respond as well to what we're saying, because that's part of active listening, which is what we are going to be talking about. So we're going to talk now about how you know someone is listening to you. And if you do have your magazine, on page 27, here we have 12 active listening skills.
Yep. And as I'm looking at the 12, there's definitely ones that I am better at doing, other ones that I could definitely spend more time to improve. So I noticed recently that maintaining eye contact for me is a little bit of an issue. And the reason being because as important as maintaining eye contact is when you're speaking or listening to someone speak, because I love to multitask. You know, I will be washing the dishes while talking to my sister, or I'll be like typing on the computer while talking to someone else, and then I don't use eye contact. You know,
I think this is part of like the cell phone generation too, right?
That also.
So many people, they have conversations with others while they're doing something on their phone. And so many people do this now that I don't even think we realize how rude we're being sometimes.
Yeah, definitely being a good listener. One of the very important things is giving people our undivided attention. And that's actually the first one.
That's number one.
Pay attention, which is something that I can work on more as well.
So we also have one on this list. I was telling Maria before the live stream, I really, really struggle with this one. Not interrupting others.
Yeah. Sometimes we just hear someone speaking about something and we're like, oh, I have something really cool that I want to share that kind of bounces off what you're talking about.
Yes.
And so it's easy to just like cut in there and interrupt, not trying to be rude. But you mentioned another reason why you find out it's easier to like cut in while other people are talking.
I think it's because I'm listening that I interrupt sometimes.
That's so interesting.
Because I hear what they're saying and I really agree with it, or maybe I have my own opinion that I want to share, and I'm just so excited to have a conversation with them or keep the conversation moving that I don't stop to listen to their whole thought.
Yes, I mean, that's something that, you know, I can work on. There's so many things I can work on. I do not tend to interrupt as easily, and I think that could be the Chinese cultural part of my upbringing. My father would always remind us, you know, let us finish saying our sentence, or, you know, let us express our thought fully before you express your opinion.
And we were chatting about how I don't really have this problem when I'm speaking Chinese. So maybe it's because like once I put myself into that culture to speak that language, it's not so much of an issue for me. Thank you once again, Steve, for leaving a comment here. He says being a good listener is important. People will think you're good at communication. That's right. And it's a responsible thing to do when you're in a conversation with someone else. Thank you so much. We go back to this list here. I circled a few of these that I either thought were the most important or I felt like I needed to work on. Maria, you mentioned maintaining eye contact. We see here too, showing interest is important.
Oh.
Why or how do you think showing interest is important?
Well, I think it's important because in that way we show others that we value them, that we respect them. If they're talking about something and we're, you know, yawning or switching positions all the time, like when are you going to finish talking, then they'll feel like, okay, you're not interested, and what I have to share about myself or my experience is just not important to you. They won't feel really cared and loved.
I really like that you mentioned active listening, or just listening in general, shows how much we value people, because that's what it comes down to, right? If we care about someone and we think what they have to say is important, we will listen to them. Well, which other ones of these stand out to you here, Maria?
I like the summarizing one, the third one, summarize. And summarize just means maybe someone just said something really long and extensive and you just kind of figure out what the key points were and just shorten it. I like to do that, but not usually because I'm showing someone that I was listening to what they were saying, but usually because I just want to help myself remember what they said.
Too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I totally do this. I think I learned this at a conference once, or maybe from a speech. Someone said, you know, if you have a hard time remembering things like names, if you repeat it several times, you're more likely to remember it.
That is true. And also a similar one was, I believe it was, paraphrasing. So paraphrasing would just be rewording what someone said. So summarizing is kind of shortening it. Paraphrasing is saying it in another way.
I love it when people paraphrase what I have said to them, because it shows me that they not only have heard what I've said, but they've understood my meaning and are able to say it back to me in a different way.
Yes, that's definitely very helpful. Paraphrasing, summarizing, and repeating key phrases. That's also a similar one, but it's different in that you just going through the key points that they said, repeating it. And I think this is very valuable to use in the workplace because, if maybe like a superior or your boss gives you a certain task to do, if you're able to list the key points, then they will know like, okay, you heard and understood and know what you're to do.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like when you receive instructions, repeat the key phrases. I like that. There's two on here that also go together, and I would say they are also difficult for me to do: withholding judgment and showing empathy, because these both have to do with how you respond to someone. Sometimes you hear someone say something and you're immediately like, that's not right, or I don't like that, and you want to tell them.
Yeah.
But that's like immediately giving a judgment.
Yes, but I think one thing that has helped me not immediately just pass judgment is because I've did that before, and then I realized because I did not allow the person to complete what they wanted to say, I misunderstood or misjudged them. And I was like, oh, I should have just waited until they finished saying that, and I would not have misread what they were trying to say.
What about empathy? Do you think that you are able to show empathy to others?
I would say yes.
Okay.
And empathy just means being able to put yourself in other people's shoes. In Chinese, we say 同理心. And I would say definitely I'm able to connect with people's feelings a little more. Like sometimes when people are crying about something very sad, I'm like, wait, why am I about to cry too? Like
I'm not like this.
I'm gonna cry.
I really, really respect people who can be like this, because I am not like this at all. I'll think in my mind like, why does that bother you? Or why are you upset about that? It's not good. That's not being an active listener.
Well, I mean, you're able to see outside a situation, and sometimes for some people, having someone listening and empathizing with them is helpful. But sometimes if they find a person who empathizes with them too much, they can never get out of the problem that they're in.
That's a good point. What do you think about this, friends? When you're telling someone about a problem, do you like it if they empathize with you and maybe share your feelings and have sympathy? Or do you prefer to talk to someone who helps you find a solution or help you get your mind straight about a certain situation? Let us know down in the comments. Okay, so we've pretty much gone through most of these active listening skills, things that you can do to active listen to others. So let's talk for a minute about which part of active listening we find the hardest. We talked about this a little bit already. I think we can talk about it a little more. And friends, please share as well down in the comments what part of active listening is super hard for you. Do you want to answer first?
So besides maintaining eye contact, I would also say paying attention. And that again goes back to me liking to multitask, do more than one thing at the same time. And sometimes I think I am listening better than I actually am. And so this has happened a few times with me and my sister, where it's like she's saying something and I'm like on the computer and I'm like, okay, I heard what she said. But then I heard what she said, but was I listening to what she said? Like, no, I was not able to repeat it back to her. So yeah, I would say paying attention is also pretty difficult for me.
You just mentioned the heading of this live stream, so we need to talk about it.
Yes, Emery came up with that. I love it. Hearing and listening, is it the same thing?
So if you hear someone, we all hear things every day, right? We hear birds outside, we hear cars going by. Those are the things I hear right now. We hear what other people are saying to us, but listening is different. Listening means you don't only hear what they say, but you understand it and you kind of accept it in a way.
Yes. I would say hearing would also be kind of like something goes through one ear and it comes out the other.
Oh yeah, that's a good phrase.
So you're not processing it or reflecting on it, or like you said, not understanding it. So I would say listening requires a lot of more intentionality.
Yeah,
you're being intentional and hearing what someone has to say.
I like that. Being intentional means that you are doing something with a specific purpose. You are doing it for a reason and you are purposefully trying to do it. All right, well, friends, we want to hear some more of your thoughts here about active listening. Is this a topic that you have heard of before? Is active listening something totally new? Maybe you were familiar with some of these skills, but you just didn't know that they fell into the category of active listening.
Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot from this article. I read it yesterday and I had time to reflect on it. And I'm just like, wow, everyone, including myself, we all need to improve our skills of active listening and the 12 skills that are listed over here, because listening to others, showing that we really care about them is very important. And this is regardless of whether we're interacting with family or with coworkers or with friends, anyone.
All right, well, friends, we have one more comment here from Steve again. You have empathy on your friends because you try to give them solutions when they're talking to me. So solutions and empathy, that's a great thing to do. Well, friends, we are done talking about active listening for now, but you feel free to leave comments later and we will respond to you. Also, we have another live stream coming up on the 25th, correct? Of this month. Just want to make sure. Yes, the 25th of this month. We will be talking about, well, we will be talking about something from the May magazine. We'll leave it a surprise for now. Hi, Gabe. Oh, Anne-Marie is more empathetic than she gives herself credit for.
Agreed.
I don't think so. Thank you very much for that. All right, well, friends, we will see you next time and have a great day.
Bye.